Welcome to the Curated Beauty Podcast. Jessica Christie here, a health and beauty enthusiast who became a medical practitioner to be the authority on how to enhance both your outer beauty and inner beauty for the most confident glow. Founding and owning a multi-million-dollar aesthetic medical practice in Michigan, my mission is to bring all the bi-coastal innovations to the fresh coast of Michigan. From which aesthetic treatment gives you the most bang for your buck to how to create systems to be both professionally fulfilled and still have freedom of time and relationships, we will be diving into it all. Welcome back to the Curated Beauty Podcast, where I will lead you through many different types of issues between owning a business, trying to navigate this thing called life the best way possible and authentically and aligned with the journey for your own individual success and what that looks like. And also walk into the aesthetic industry and show you a little bit about what my medical aesthetic practice looks like and really talk about some relevant topics. I have talked about before that I think it's very common for people to be the technician in their world and be a really good injector, for example. That's what it looks like for us. And they may be part of a company that doesn't fit their needs anymore, whatever that may be, for whatever reason, cultural, money, toxic environment, location, whatever. Maybe they're leaving something that just works better for them for hours, and a change in their life and, the demands of that position no longer work. But there's a common so-called entrepreneurial seizure that can happen where they have this aha moment, and it happened to me. And I said, I think that I could do this better than this person that's employing me. And that is the beginning of where people like me start their business. I never meant to have a really, really big business. I mean, I still am classified as a small business technically, but to me, it has become big, and it can at times take over my entire life. And I never imagined that it would be this way. And I think it's really common for people to think, I'm just going to do it like this. I'm going to have this small thing. I'm not going to let it get big. And before you know it, you've tripped into making it big. Not everyone. I mean, there's people that really do hold true to that boundary, that it's not going to get giant, but it's easy to grow in the aesthetics industry. But growth is not something that is going to make you successful over the long haul if you're not constantly analyzing your business acumen and your skill set and continuing to work on yourself as an individual, and really fully realizing that there are going to be massive times of chaos where you are completely out of balance. I mean, there's no balance at times. Now I can recognize that the goal is to not create another job that you are a slave to, and that you've handcuffed yourself to. They call it golden handcuffs, but it happens. And then we have to go back to the drawing board and think, gosh, how did this happen? And what could I do differently? And so I was in a business call where our business coach said that we will think that we have a firm hold on what we're doing and a grasp on the way that things are and what success looks like to us. And then all of a sudden, something can shake it up, and then we lose control again. And it was funny because she was talking to one of our other team members, but it resonated with us all. And she's like, when you feel like you had control and then you lost it again, did you really ever have it? And she asked us, the way I will win is, and it was a question posed to really be able to look at our business. And I took it as, if you could go back and set your business up again, what things would you perhaps do differently, depending on your specific circumstances and lessons that you've learned in previous experiences? Hindsight's 2020, but we don't know what our blind spots are. And so what could you learn from someone like me who also planned on leaving and having it be something small that worked for me, but ended up being something much bigger than I ever imagined? What would I do differently? So I honestly would start as if I was going to be huge, regardless of what I actually was going to be. I mean, even down to like trademarking and really vetting the logo that you have and agreements SOPs, KPIs, team member expectations. It's really hard to go back and deliver messages to people that, okay, I know we were doing it like this. Maybe like I've heard team members of mine in my business coaching classes say, I had to tell them like, great. Thank God for all those times that you were paid so much, but now we got to like tug back on the reins a little bit because it's not sustainable. And that's really hard to hear as an employee. And that might even be their entrepreneurial seizure that's like, I'm going to go do this a different way. And gosh, the naivete in that for me was, yeah, there's a lot there. And I really had to say, do I want this? And if the answer is yes, which it was for me, then it's a dedication of my whole life and being. Otherwise, I can see the future of aesthetics and that these smaller practices perhaps will not sustain. But if they do, they're not tripping into crazy wealth. And they're not making more than you could make being gainfully employed by someone who is setting up these systems correctly. Because if they are, they can really make it make sense and have people who have amazing resources and amazing business development and really invest in the autonomous practice for these individuals working for them and really make more money than they could on their own. And then at the end of the day, they get to walk away when they want to and go on vacation and not worry about all the other things and the stresses. So I just wanted to bring a few key points of how I would go about setting my business up as if it were big from the very beginning, regardless of what I would want it to really look like. Because like I said, you can't go back. So starting with number one, I think I would have done more market research on what I was actually targeting. I remember sitting in Starbucks and writing my business plan because, you just have to have a business plan. And I was writing down who is your competition and who is your ideal candidate and who is your target audience for who you want to come in and buy these services that you have. So investing more time and effort into researching that target market and the patients and competitors, I think would have ensured that what I'm bringing on are all high leverage services and treatments. So what I mean by that is minimal investment in the cost it takes to bring that service on, but a maximum benefit to the practice, to both the patient in terms of outcomes and results, but also financially for the practice and minimizing how many people it takes to get that job done. Also, unique selling propositions with certain vendors, maximizing the relationship and what they can give you and how much you're spending with them so that they can give you a return on those goods. Of course, you want to pick companies that you feel aligned with, but I remember just thinking, gosh, I could just have every company and like pick and choose every little thing that I could potentially want from them. And although that is relatively true, I definitely would not leave loopholes or just align with one company because of that, but really vetting to make sure that that vendor has everything that I need. Number two, I talked about developing a business plan. I sat there in Starbucks and I remember being like, who's my competition? No one, because no one is like me. Like literally that's what I was thinking. I was like, how do I write this? But a business plan is the SOPs and the KPIs. And if you don't know what those are, it's standard operating procedures and key performance indicators. And essentially you're setting up a comprehensive business plan that outlines your goals, your target market, your marketing strategy, how much money you're paying for that, financial projections, potential risks. This is just really going to help stay focused and provide that roadmap for your business's journey. And then you can really be able to measure, are you achieving those things? Are you on the right track? What's working? What's not working? Number three, I would definitely say legal structure. You really want to choose the appropriate legal structure that's right for your business from the start. You can't just be using some random legal Zoom documents and family attorneys because you really need to consider things like liability. Are you covered with the appropriate malpractice insurance? Are you having the appropriate licensure to do things like microneedling, which a lot of people don't realize that you need a body art license to do microneedling, which includes different ceiling tiles and a hot water heater in the room and a licensure separate from everything else that you do. And if you don't have that and you don't have the appropriate people doing it and the appropriate people licensed to do it in your practice, you're setting yourself up for litigation and liability. So that is really important. Also, things like taxation. I mean, federal taxes, people like us in the medical industry, they don't realize how these work. I mean, it is really actually interesting. And so setting things up to make sure that at the end of the year, you're not hit with this massive tax bill that you've either used as income or you've used those financial gains for reinvesting it into your business. And then you really want to look at the ownership structure and make sure that you have, people typically go into business thinking, oh my gosh, don't worry, we're best friends. We don't need a contract. We don't need to put all of these intricacies into something. We know each other. Well, guess what? A lot of people end up at odds because it's very stressful to own a business. And while you may be bonding over the mutual distaste for your past employment or something else in the industry, those things go away and they change. And you want to make sure that you have really good operating agreements with anyone that's involved in your business, especially anyone who has ownership. Number 4, you want to make sure you're budgeting and financially managing all of the things from the very beginning. You want to create realistic budgets. You want to be able to track your expenses very closely, whether it's QuickBooks or whatever. Have a CPA on board that is very, very knowledgeable in all things medical aesthetic practice or whatever your own field is. You want a specialist. You do not, again, just want some random CPA that's a family member. And you want to make sure that you develop a really solid financial management system to help keep your business on track. Number 5, you want to make sure that you're networking and developing really strong relationships with industry professionals and your suppliers and potential partners and customers that help you build your reputation and help you grow your business. Now, here is a caveat. This is a small industry, the medical aesthetic practice industry. There are so many people out there burning bridges. So first of all, when you leave a job, you want to do it on the up and up, and you want to make sure that you're giving appropriate notice and that you are withholding integrity. And that doesn't mean that they're going to see it that way or feel it that way, but you need to do what's right. Also, you need to make sure that you recognize that that person could very well become some person that you find down your path later on. And what I mean by that is whether it's a vendor, a business relationship, I mean, you never know who's going to merge, who's going to buy practices, who's going to become part of something that puts you in a position to be face to face again. And you don't want that reputation that you've gained from treating someone badly to be something that follows you and affects a decision against you. So vendors, I mean, I've even had vendors treat me poorly. And I just think that's so silly because even companies that I've aligned with, that would make me not speak highly of them if they were looking for a job in that industry or with that company. And vice versa, you need to be great to all of your vendors because even if it's a product that doesn't hold a lot of weight for you, you never know where they're going to work eventually. And you never know if you are going to be at their mercy or need them down the road. And so it's not what someone can do for you in that moment. It's that long game of networking. You don't need to be best friends with every single industry professional or every vendor, but what you do need to do is be cordial and professional and make sure that you are keeping your integrity level at the utmost highest level. So number 6, I definitely would say branding. You want to invest in a very strong brand identity and something that has consistent messaging across all channels. So I'm not just talking about a brand box, which is font and logos and colors. You want to make sure that you are communicating the value that you are providing to your patients. And you want to make sure that maybe you have one location, but maybe you're going to have 18. And you want to be sure that across those 18 locations, that there is a standard operating procedure on how you dress, how you act, how you interact with your teammates, how you interact and communicate with your patients, how you show up to work. What is the expectation? What are your roles and responsibilities? What is this experience looking like ultimately to the patient? And if that is not the same across all channels and all locations and all vendor relationships and all positions within your team, that is not going to help you to have long-term success within your business. Your reputation is how you make someone feel. And if you are thinking that the cat's meow and people are so lucky to come in and see you, and there's a dramatic kind of immature environment, because that's a lot of what happens in our industry. I see a lot of medical practices that really have people that need to work on their inner child, I guess. If you don't have people working on themselves and you have all this kind of built up, pent up drama and insecurity, you can really honestly lead your patients to feel that, because they do. And that goes to holding toxic team members in your space as well. If you are not holding people to a high standard, then you are opening yourself up to creating a reputation, whether you like it or not, that your patient base will go tell the masses, hey, this is what this company is all about. And you want that to be a good thing and something that you've created, not something that was created for you. Also, number 7, marketing and sales strategy. So you want to make sure that you have a really well thought out marketing and sales strategy, and leveraging both online and offline channels to really, again, reach your target audience. So what does that look like? How much are you investing? When you look at KPIs, are you investing those dollars well? And where do you maybe need to make some changes? It's not just here's my Instagram and my TikTok and it's all about me. If that's what you're about, great. But I don't think that that's probably going to be sustainable, because people want to know what's right for them. And if they don't see themselves in your egotistical content, which could be how it comes across, then you want to make sure that you're sort of pulling that back and thinking, what does the patient need from me? Number 8 is hiring the right team. So I wish I would have been more focused on hiring team members and partners with the right, not only skills and experience, but mostly attitude, and people that want to invest in their training and development, not only professionally, but also personally. This comes from core values. And it's my fault. When I started my business, I didn't put a lot of effort into core values. It's just, again, we're great. Everyone's going to want to come here. No, like that goes stale, and you're going to open yourself up to letting people into your environment that are not the right people. They may have all the right skills and all the great experience, but if they're not aligned with your core values, you're going to be dragging your business behind you, and you're going to be constantly fighting against toxicity in your environment. So really get real with knowing what your vision is, what your mission is, what your core values are. And something that I've done, and I talk about this a lot through my business coaching sessions, is writing a manifesto for your business that you give to your potential candidates, and also a love letter for this potential employee that you're going to bring on. And you do this before you even hire them. You really want to manifest that person of all the qualities that you want about them, rather than the actual tasks that they're going to check off at the end of the day. Number 9, you want to delegate and outsource what you can. So you will definitely fall into this technician that becomes a manager. And I've talked about this a little bit before, where you're now wearing many, many hats, and you will grow. I promise. You'll make sales and you'll grow. But if you do not really take the time back from being the technician, if you think that you're going to run a good business and you're going to be the one that does the things, what will happen is you will put zero effort into actually managing and operating systems, and let alone being an actual entrepreneur. And so you'll be running yourself ragged. You will be absolutely burning out your team. You will be really struggling with that growth. And so you have these options. Like, you can either get real small again, which that doesn't equal freedom from your business. If you're not there, your business isn't making money and you can't expand. Either keep doing this until it literally implodes, or you have to shift into that whole mindset of being an entrepreneur and really take a hard look at yourself. So learn what you can delegate, learn what you need to defer and put on the back burner that's not important and not a priority. But if you don't outsource these things to your team and trust them, then you will not be able to focus on core business activities that really will avoid burnout for you and your team members. And then number 10, this is the last one, adaptability and resilience. Oh my goodness, if I only knew the journey I would go on opening my practice in 2019. It's just such a short time ago, but so much has happened. And I am pretty adaptable, but you need to be adaptable to changes in the market, technology, your patient preferences, team members that you need to let go of, and then realize, okay, how am I going to fill this hole? Am I going to put the same, like say it's a person, like say it's Sally, like are you going to put a Sally-shaped person in the Sally-shaped hole? Or are you going to reinvent that and go back to the drawing board and get real with, again, your business plan and your market research and your strategy? So don't make bad decisions worse. I always say, like, shake stuff up. And if you don't shake it up, it's like a snow globe, like shake it up. I know that it will be uncomfortable for a little bit, but as you watch all those pieces fall into place, it feels really good. And so being resilient to that and leaning into all the hard is really going to help you to be able to learn from your past experience and implement continuous improvements through change. So ultimately, the most important thing to reflect on with your past experiences is identifying the areas in which you could have improved and apply those lessons to your new ventures. And remember that it's never too late to make positive changes in your business. It's never too late to mend broken relationships and friendships. It's never too late to start over and rebrand and do all these things. And so I just thought that this was something that hit home for me, and I really want to make sure that I shared it with you, and maybe it will affect your business or make you, if you're questioning or maybe throwing around in your head the idea of starting your own business. First of all, could I maybe communicate more effectively and claim what I need within where I am? Could I find a different practice that just fits my needs better? Or do I really want to bite off all of this and commit this life? So thank you so much for tuning in today and joining me. I look forward to our next episode, and I will just keep all these goodies on business and life coming.
Congratulations, you have done it. You've reached the end of an episode on the Curated Beauty Podcast and have enriched a part of your self-care by discovering something new. I hope this time together added a little perspective to your day and will ultimately boost your confidence and give you the strength to do all the hard things. As we walk through this journey together, follow our Curated Beauty Podcast. And if this resonated with you, share it with a friend, save the episode, and also follow our social media platforms in the show notes. We love to engage with our listeners on all levels.